Hello, community. So I'm going to present a really neat way of learning about aspects. Of course, there are so many ways to think about aspects and to learn about them and all the phases. But if we just look at the natural zodiac and study the relationship between one sign and the next, we have a very direct and tangible way to understand the basic aspects. So we can start with any sign that we want, right? If we start with Aries, and we know Libra is opposite Aries, and that's the opposition. So we can just study and think about the natural relationship between Aries and Libra. If we start with Aries and we look at Cancer, they are square. They are 90 degrees from one another. And so by studying the natural relationship, the way Aries and Cancer relate, we'll get some insight about the square. So we're just going to go through the zodiac, picking two signs, and to make this fun and spontaneous, I've written down all the signs on these pieces of paper. And I'm going to just randomly pick one sign. I'll go through it with y'all, and then we'll do another one. So, say when. Okay, what do we got? Gemini. You probably can't see it because of my light. Great. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with Gemini. And I want everyone to make Gemini 0 degrees. That means if you're looking at an aspect between two planets, you're always going to start by putting your finger on one planet and moving through the zodiac until you reach the other planet. So if you put your finger on one planet and move 180 degrees, you will have an opposition. So in this case, if you put your finger on Gemini and you go 180 degrees, you'll have a planet in what sign? Sagittarius. So let's do this with Gemini. Go all around the zodiac, starting with a conjunction. Two planets in Gemini that are conjunct. So that reflects a new relationship relative to thought, Gemini. How we are thinking about integrating, understanding reality in order to create more mental cohesion. It's going to symbolize a new learning journey. Whatever the two planets are, it's a new phase of discovery. So there's going to be a lot of new information, maybe new research, new experiences to provide more context for the mind. Now let's go 30 degrees from Gemini to Cancer. This is a semi-sextile. A semi-sextile is what Jeff Green called a psychological irritant. Think about it. You started at the conjunction and you moved 30 degrees. So there's separation now. And so what was new and very raw and subjective has now separated, where it's time to narrow the possibilities. But consciousness is not yet used to narrowing these possibilities. So there's sort of a slowing down happening that can kind of be uncomfortable. So Gemini to Cancer is all these different perspectives and ideas, but Cancer, who am I? I need to consolidate all of this information and not just be in my head about it, but allow it to inform my sense of self. So we have, your immediate environment, siblings, the world around you in Gemini. But in Cancer, we have, this is my family, this is who I am, this informs my sense of self. So we're cultivating more intimacy here, and that's very much symbolized by that semi-sextile between Gemini and Cancer. Now let's move to Leo. We're just going to do the main aspects, because there are a lot of minor aspects, and maybe I'll put in a couple sesquiquadrats and semi-squares as well, but I'm going to keep it super simple. So this can be a launching pad for you to go deeper if you want. So Leo, we have the sextile. And sextile is an energy that is open, there's an awareness, there's a consciousness of the possibility to grow and to experience more. And it's just really a matter of using one's intelligence to do that. And it can also be avoided. There can be a laziness in the sextile and just not really taking advantage of one's gifts. So Gemini Leo, that mental agility now manifesting in creative expression. Here we have the imagery of an actor that can play many different roles and put on many different masks. So there's an ability to integrate and socialize, and there's a sort of artistic and very self-knowledgeable quality. Think about it. We started off in the conjunction. Now we're 60 degrees later in that sextile, and it's in Leo, right? From Gemini to Leo, it's knowledge and information, to Leo, creative actualization. Now we go 30 more degrees and we're at the square in Virgo. And what's the relationship between Gemini and Virgo? Gemini is information, lots of possibilities, but Virgo needs to refine, focus on the details. So if you're doing a lot of things, you can make mistakes. If you're not really spending time focusing on what needs attention, what needs fixing, you might scatter yourself and you'll miss important things. So that first square between Gemini and Virgo says focus, right? Don't be scattered. So you have to develop some mastery and maybe learn and experience and have a lot of ideas and information, but apply yourself. Be really clear and give attention to detail. Don't miss over important pieces. So we have another 30 degrees, and that takes us into Libra. This is 120 degrees. Now we have two elements. Think about this is another way of thinking about it right now. When you get to the square, we're having, mutable with mutable, right? Mutable air with mutable earth. So squares will have the same mode, mutables, mutable, fixed, cardinal. But trines will have the same element. So now we're at air. And what's the relationship between Gemini and Libra? Well, they're both social, so trines are very easy to integrate. So with Gemini, we're learning and we're accessing more information. We're expanding our context of understanding in our mind and filling in the pieces. And we're also learning how to communicate with other people, because if we come from different backgrounds, different ways of thinking, we have to learn how to adopt and develop a certain social adaptability. And in Libra, what are we doing? We're learning how to give. We're learning how to appreciate people's needs and how to ask for what we need. There's a very good harmony, but the challenge can be duplicity, being too oriented and aware of what people want or how to act, that it becomes insincere. So like the sextiles, a trine can be a very open, fluid energy, but one that we don't really develop because it is easy. So we might just know how to act in this case, or the Gemini-Libra energy, but not really develop clear relationship. Create another 30 degrees, and you have Scorpio, and this is the Inconjunct. The Inconjunct, also called the Quincunx, is 150 degrees and 210 degrees. So from Gemini to Scorpio, what's the relationship? Well, Gemini is again about gathering information, learning more, experiencing more, and Scorpio is depth, going to the core, getting to the bottom line. And so it's kind of like the semi-sextile in that the Inconjunct really asks us to focus, even though it feels like we don't know how to do it. We might feel scattered, might feel really difficult. And so Scorpios, get to the bottom line, get underneath all the duality, all the thinking, all the grasping for more understanding, more information, and drop more deeply into the core. What's the real question? What's your thesis? What are you really seeking to understand? What's your investigation? Why are you reading that book? Why are you communicating this way, right? To actually get beyond the surface layer. And that means really slowing down, which can feel difficult. That can feel irritating. It can feel like we're overwhelmed with psychic content and we don't know how to cipher it all. So there's a centering that happens with the Inconjunct between Gemini and Scorpio. And one more 30-degree movement, we have Sagittarius. And that's the opposition. And so oppositions are always about integrating perceived polarity so that we can cultivate more self-knowledge, more mastery, more integration in this world. So while Gemini is about gaining more experience, learning more information, Sagittarius is about insight. It's our intuitive understanding of reality. So the polarity between Gemini and Sagittarius asks us to reference our intuition to make sense and interpret all the information that we have. Otherwise, we're going to have a whole lot of ideas, right? A whole lot of books, a whole lot of facts, but no meaning. No deeper philosophical understanding. We can just look at a chart and say, oh yeah, you have Mercury here, Venus there, and this is what you're like. But without Sagittarius, we can't really feel into the gestalt and intuitively understand how all these different pieces come together to express a holistic story about your reality, about your nature. Then we have Capricorn. This is the other inconjunct or quincunx. Gemini to Capricorn is 210 degrees. And that again is asking for a certain focusing and a certain level of accountability and responsibility. According to where you are and what you need to do and what you're talking about, you have to make sure you know what you're talking about, that you have the credentials, and to speak appropriately. In certain environments, if you're going to speak the way you speak in the bathroom or in the bedroom, but you're at work, it's not going to fly. So we need to learn how to adopt ourselves so we can fit into society. And that means the openness of the mind, which is really able to see any context, has to adopt to understand and have the wisdom and the maturity to know how to repress the openness and concentrate and be present for what's needed and what's necessary in the moment. And if you're talking about something too, maybe if you're 7 years old, you don't need to be an expert at talking about any kind of topic that you're interested in, trains. But if you're 40 and you're building trains, you have to make sure you know what you're talking about. You have to study. You have to have all of your information. So there's that stress in that Gemini-Capricorn relationship to actually get something with the mind, to actually build some concrete knowledge that is structurally useful and meaningful and relevant, that allows us to participate in a healthy and meaningful way in this world. And if we don't, there are consequences. Things won't get done. People might get hurt. You might get fired. Aquarius, 30 degrees later, we have the trine again. So we have two air elements. Aquarius allows us to appreciate that we're all individuals resonating in our own unique cosmic way. We have objectivity in Aquarius, where we recognize by being ourselves, we naturally resonate with the individualities around us that fit the larger cosmic ecosystem of our life, and that everything in life is a part of one ecosystem. So Aquarius is super social, right? It's about the interconnectedness of all these different organisms creating this one community, and these mini communities and these circles that intersect circles. And so the Gemini-Aquarius connection is you're going to be a part of different groups, different friends, different environments, where you're going to be relating on different things. You're going to have different things in common. You'll talk about different things. You'll share different perspectives. And you'll overlap in some ways and you won't overlap in some ways. By communicating and learning from one another, we expand the diversity and the resilience of the ecosystem. And again, the problem here could be the duplicity of around these friends or these groups you're acting a certain way, and then these groups you're acting a different way. Pisces is another 30 degrees. This brings us into the last quarter square. The last quarter square is, again, another tension dynamic. What's the relationship between Gemini and Pisces? Pisces is the oneness, and reality doesn't call itself by any names. The tree doesn't call itself a tree. The body doesn't call itself the body. The stars don't categorize themselves in constellations or astrological signs or groupings of 12. Humans do that. And so in Gemini, we're looking at the oneness, which is just the oneness, and we're giving it names. We're creating classifications and categorizing. The human body can be classified according to Ayurvedic or Taoist systems or allopathic systems, but it's not calling itself any of those things. So the square to Pisces helps us to remember, invites us to remember. So the Pisces-Gemini relationship teaches us to surrender the mind, because we're never going to grasp the full oneness of life through logic alone. We're never going to logically, in a cohesive way, be able to put everything together and make it all connect in some way, because the oneness is without division. And so we learn through the square between Pisces and Gemini that the mind is ever approaching a greater appreciation for how the oneness works together and relates and interconnects to all of itself. And yet we also surrender to recognize we're never going to achieve some transcendence of perfect knowing. In that case, we learn how to surrender our mind to know what we're meant to know and to communicate and share what is meant to come through us for the benefit of others. 30 more degrees, you have Aries. And this takes us once again to the sextile. Notice that sextiles will always occur between not the same element, but the same charge. So yang, or masculine. Gemini is air, which is a masculine energy, and Aries is fire, which is also masculine. So Aries is instinctive. It is moving from this present moment to a new experience, experiencing life as an ever-unfolding newness. What's now? I'm going to learn from this new experience. It's going to inform my sense of self and open the doors to the next phase of my life journey. And this here says there are many paths to walk, many opportunities, many options. Which ones will you choose? And here, with so many possibilities, a mind can get stuck with, I don't want to ever miss out, so I can burn out by going so fast, so quick. On the other hand, the Aries-Gemini sextile says there's a lot of space and freedom and energy now to move in new directions and to learn what you need to learn. And so we come back to Taurus now, which is all the way around the zodiac. The first semi-sextile was Cancer, and the last semi-sextile is Taurus. And notice that we have two semi-sextiles, two sextiles, two squares. One's in the beginning of the cycle and one's at the end, two trines as well. So this psychological irritant here, the challenge is to slow down. The cycle's coming to completion, to consolidate, integrate the information. Don't continue gathering more, seeking more. So there can be the stress of wanting to almost fill this sense of emptiness or this void in continuing to bring all this knowledge and information into one's sphere. But Taurus says, is it practical? Is it useful? Are you doing something meaningful out of it? So it's very similar to the Cancer energy, which is like, who are you? What's your identity? Where do you belong? What makes you you? Taurus is saying, live, be in your body. Let me come all the way back to Gemini, to the conjunction again. Okay, now let's pick another sign and do the same thing. All right. Wish for your sign, maybe you'll get it. If you wish hard enough. Okay, what is it? Virgo. All right, great. So this is good. We started with mutable air, also ruled by Mercury, Gemini. Now we have another Mercury-ruled sign, Virgo. So we have a little theme here. Two planets in Virgo. You have a project to do. You're getting started. You don't even know how to approach it. So you're going to be doing a lot of troubleshooting, kind of building your tool belt. What do I need to do? What do I need to refine and learn and discover in order to start fixing this or orienting and perfecting and refining this new path in life? So it's very subjective, very new, and you're going to learn along the way. Move 30 degrees to the semi-sextile, we have Libra, which is let go of your perfection. Okay, you have your narrow Virgo short-sightedness, wanting to make sure everything is working well. But Libra's relationship, in the end, it needs to be about relationship. Is it serving you? Is it what you're needing? And the semi-sextile, the irritant is, okay, yeah, I'm giving you a massage, and I know you're not comfortable, but I need to get this knot out, right? Libras, what are you needing? Okay, let me serve and help according to what's needed. 30 more degrees, you have the sextile between Virgo and Scorpio. And that sextile, again, is that ability to integrate consciously what needs to happen. So Scorpio is getting to the core of things, and then Virgo is sort of refining and analyzing. So there's a great ability here to kind of take things apart and really get to the essence. Like, I figured it out. I took this pen out, and I got to the core of it, and I solved the problem. This can be a very, psychologically penetrating kind of orientation. Or as a body worker, someone that can really get to things and really connect how our physical reality is sort of connected to a deeper psychological cause and see what the root of things are to make things work better. 30 more degrees, you have Sagittarius. And this is, again, mutable, but it's a mutable fire. Virgo is refining and developing self-accuracy. And Sagittarius is wanting the bigger picture, it's wanting to understand. And the challenge here can be this idea of, I need to do something. I need to work on myself in a certain way in order to live a spiritual life, in order to understand and have a direct experience, so we can have an inauthentic path, right? Doing practices, doing techniques to Sagittarius, know God or understand reality, or training in a certain spiritual lineage or practice. But is it really working? Is it really working? So this square between Virgo and Sagittarius asks you to really practice, be an apprentice, but to your own nature. Set on a path that is really true for you, and follow that path all the way. So you can uncover from within your own authentic way more of reality and cultivate more wisdom and insight into life. So there's a lot of mastery there, but it requires self-knowledge and self-honesty. 30 more degrees, we have the trine, 2 earth signs. Capricorn, earth, Virgo, earth. And this is, Capricorn, you have a responsibility, you have a role to play in life, you have things that you got to do that will affect other people. And Virgo, what are the tools that you need to develop and refine in order to do that? They harmonize really well. And the issue here can be overworking, right? Becoming so oriented towards success and doing that the larger meaning and purpose of your life is lost because you're so in that repressive, like perfecting, focusing zone, like building your business. And there could also be this issue of giving a lot of attention to details and things where you lose your life in that. It's like spending 30 hours in 2 days on your computer working on your website and fixing all the little details and all these troubleshootings and building your business, right? And that's great. There's a lot of growth and a lot of maturity in there. But there can be an overemphasis on the physical, an overemphasis on the doing, on the accomplishing, which can neglect other parts of our life. Then we have Aquarius. So we have that inconjunct quincunx energy. Aquarius and its relationship to Virgo speaks about our objectivity, our detached awareness. You're sitting on the mountain looking at the entire system, seeing everything clearly as an observer. And then Virgo, you're not on the mountain, you're right there in there. You're like down below, working at the nitty-gritty things. And so the challenge with this aspect is to maintain that objectivity, that clear sight, while engaging in the work that you have to do, Virgo, in the tasks that are before you. It can feel overcomplicated. It's like a whole lot of mess. But this teaches us to have a sort of detached and clear mind. And you just take it one step after another, and things can come together. In the same way, your life and your community and your involvement and sort of everything blossoming in your life, one step after another, and everything will come together. Even if it seems muddled, stay clear on the inside. Now we have Virgo in its opposition to Pisces. Pisces is immutable water. It says everything is okay just the way it is. Everything is perfect. Life is love and wholeness. But Virgo has, you got to fix things. Your chair broke. Don't just sit back and be like, this chair's perfect. It's God. Virgo says, but you can't sit on it because it's broken. But the Pisces polarity teaches us that we're not going to find God once we're perfect. We're never going to be perfect. We're never going to be perfect in terms of this false ideal and conception of when everything's in order, when all of my ducks are in a row, because one of the ducks are going to get out of the row. Something else is going to break. So you're never going to reach divinity through the effort and the work of really bringing everything together in a clear way. The Pisces-Virgo polarity says, love and wholeness is innate. So do your work, but be in peace with yourself as you do it. Hold spaciousness and peace within your being as you go along. And as a result, through the Virgo-Pisces polarity, a soul can really learn about true selfless service, to do their work and to let go. Now we have the other inconjunct / quincunx with Virgo to Aries. So Virgo, attention to detail, which implies a certain like dropping in presence, and Aries is wanting to go. It's like new experience. I want to move. And so the challenge here can be this destabilizing energy of, I don't want to make mistakes. And there's a fear if I just act instinctively, I'll miss a detail. So there can be this challenge, this aspect of neglecting details because of the Aries impulsiveness, but also a hesitancy. If I move from Virgo all the way to Aries, then I'm going to be doubting myself, right? So there can be this issue of holding oneself back and creating this inertia by way of being so focused on perfection that you don't move and accelerate your life journey by just simply taking actions and doing something about things. So that inconjunct says just act and do the best that you can, and the path will open up before you as you go along. Now we have Taurus. This is the trine. Earth with earth. Fixed earth with mutable earth. And this again, you fix the chair, and now you have a chair to sit in. Our handiness, you have your tool belt, which is a Virgo thing, also allows you to be resourceful. So you're able to engage with your physical reality and make things usable, make things practical, so they're livable and you can work with them. And again, that trine, that laziness can be, in this case, settling for what comes easy, not necessarily applying your skills. But there's an immense creativity and artistic skillfulness to really refine and engage with one's physical reality with the Virgo Taurus trine. 30 more degrees, we have Gemini, and this is the last quarter square. And once again, we have talked about this, and let's talk about it from the perspective of Virgo to Gemini as opposed from Gemini to Virgo. So Virgo, you're refining and you're developing self-accuracy and attention to detail. And Gemini says, but there's more to learn, right? So you're working on this project. You come across this thing that you don't understand. And Gemini says you might have to stop and research or learn more. You also develop coordination, Gemini hands. If you're working on a project, if you're doing something physical, you develop the ability to coordinate the limbs of your body to articulate in the ways that are necessary to do the work. That Virgo Gemini connection really develops greater skill and articulation and expands our handiness, so that over time we're learning how to diversify our skills and our abilities. You move 30 more degrees and you are now in Cancer. And this is the last sextile. And the Virgo relationship to Cancer says we have work to do. We're refining, developing self-accuracy, attention to detail in Cancer. So it nourishes, caring for the home space, caring for, it's funny, as I'm speaking about Cancer, this dog enters my room, and dogs are Cancer, so it's a natural correlation. And I'll use this as an example. You gotta walk a dog, right? Like, you can't just have a dog. We all have an emotional body. We all have an interior life, and it takes maintenance. If you wake up in the morning and you do an abhyanga practice, rub yourself in oil, take care of yourself. You have routines and practices that nourish and take care of your home. And if you don't, then there's emotional crisis. Any issue with a Virgo is a crisis. Like, when you're not attending to details in your life, it creates a malfunction of all these different parts that need to function well together. So that sextile is really bringing care and routines that are nourishing to our lives and to our family. And finally, we come to that last semi-sextile, the relationship between Virgo all the way to Leo. Well, Virgo wants to be humble. It's not about me. I'm just doing what I need to do. But that Leo energy is self-actualization. The individual self is expressing and actualizing as a unique form of divine intelligence. And so Virgo has to allow their own creative gifts and skills to refine and develop so they can actualize in some way. This can be a dancer that's really working on their technique and becomes very skillful in their art, in their performance, in their music. And the psychological irritation here can be about this whole thing, like, you can always get better. Michael Jackson actually had a lot of Leo Virgo connections in his chart. obviously very technique oriented, very practiced, very developed. But you can be a perfectionist where you're hyper aware of your performance. Did I do well? And this can be projected towards your creations, towards your children, this need for perfection. And so the key here is just do your best. The key is to, refine, cultivate, so that Leo, you can express and share. And then we're all the way back to Virgo, completing the cycle. So this is a great technique. You can do this whenever you're bored, if you can't sleep, or if you just really want to, study and make a personal training practice, go through all the signs and explore the relationship. And you can bring in the semi-square, which is 45 degrees and 310 degrees, and the sesquiquadrates, which are basically an opposition minus or plus 45 degrees. So thank you all for watching, and much love to you.